Hey, Dan here, and in this video you're going to learn why it is so common for ENFPs to struggle to find the perfect job. If you are an ENFP in a career change and you've maybe changed careers a couple more times than friends or family think is normal, a couple 60 or 70 more times than they think you should be doing, then this video is going to be really valuable for you. Reason number one why ENFPs can struggle in our careers is we think life is a movie. Turns out life and movies can sometimes be a little bit different. I am still convinced they're basically the same thing. That's my life goal really, is to figure that out and to prove it. But there can be some differences. So we see a movie or a TV show and how someone like a lawyer or a teacher or astronaut is portrayed, and we think, that's what I want to do. And we don't necessarily figure out the day-to-day of that job. That, oh, to be that lawyer speaking in court, giving the big speech, saving someone's life, you have to study really hard for a long time and then do a lot of paperwork for like another decade. And then maybe you get to stand up in court and give a big speech. Well, in that case, maybe it's not exactly what we signed up for. Number two, we learn fast and we're not exactly designed for a typical career ladder. I've coached hundreds of ENFPs at this point in my life, and one thing that a lot of us have in common is we learn things quite quickly. And this is somewhat tied to our intelligence, but also just our extroverted intuition. We pick up information and learn things very quickly. Most career ladders are based on having a promotion about every 2 years. And most ENFPs are bored after about 2 months. And that's usually around the stage where they've learned most of what can be learned. You've picked up 90% of the job at that stage, and you've had that excitement and you've been growing and learning, and it's really good for you at that point. And then you look ahead and you're like, wait, I just have to just keep doing the same thing now for the next 2 years? I like the growing and learning part. That was what was exciting. And the just doing the same thing over and over, not exciting. So for this reason, a lot of typical corporate jobs are not very appealing after the first couple of months. So a lot of ENFPs have this really exciting part of the job. They're new, it's enjoyable, and then get really bored and just kind of dragging their feet for the next year, year and a half, until maybe a promotion, but maybe you don't get that promotion because you've been dragging your feet and you're not really that excited by the job. So it's an even worse situation to be in. So let's say you've been at a job for a couple months and you're bored now. You've learned what you need to do. You're getting good praise from the boss, but you know, you're bored, you're not fulfilled. Should you just stick with it like people are telling you to do? I don't think so. I think that, to me, seems really wasteful, isn't it? If you're capable of learning really quick and doing a lot in 2 months, what would take other people a year, why would you just do nothing for the next 10 months? What if you could be learning and growing for 12 months of the year? This is number three. We don't challenge ourselves enough. See, there are environments where your job would require you to be learning and growing and challenged all the time. But when an ENFP settles for a job somewhere in the middle, something that friends and family maybe respect, but isn't really pushing them to their limit, that's when you end up with this 2 months on, 10 months off kind of cycle. But if you find a company or a boss who will really challenge you and push you, and you're in a dynamic, diverse work environment where you're doing a ton of different things and always learning, generally small businesses, entrepreneurial companies tend to be this way a lot more. In that kind of environment, you're going to be able to grow consistently and not actually get bored, because you'll keep being challenged and you'll keep evolving. And that brings us to number four, which is you're trying to follow someone else's life path, or at the very least, some kind of compromise. You're reading articles about the best jobs and career opportunities in 2021, and you're talking to family members who are telling you what you should do. And that leads to some kind of compromise where you're trying to do a job that someone else thinks you should do, that you don't really want to do. And so you're not that good at it or that engaged, or maybe you are good at it because you're one of these damn ENFPs who's good at everything, but just doesn't enjoy it and lives in hell in your own head because everyone's like, wow, you're good at this. You should just keep at it and you'll have a great life. And in your mind, you're like, I want to jump off a bridge right now. I could be doing so much more with my life. Which brings us to number 5. You won't admit what you really want. So you're sort of stuck in this compromise zone where you won't jump fully into some kind of creative career or entrepreneurial venture. Maybe you know, hey, I would love to be doing coaching, but I don't really want to admit that to myself or to friends and family. So you end up going down this compromised career path, following someone else's dream. Because yes, maybe you can blame them a little bit, but ultimately it's a little bit your fault too for not admitting what it is you really want. And this often happens because we don't know how to get what we want. So if we don't know how to get it, we just say, well, I guess I don't want it, because that just seems like the way to do things. And while this is a topic that deserves its own video, the quick advice here around this is when you're thinking about what you want in life, don't think about how to get it. Just think about what you want. If there's a career that you want, focus on that. Figure out what it would look like, why you want it, and get really excited and really committed to it. Then once you've committed to it, figure out how to get it. If you mix your how, your what, and your why all together in your mind, you're basically just going to compromise in life and not do anything worthy of mention whatsoever, because you'll constantly be stopping short of a bigger dream because you get stuck in the how. And the how you will figure out. You're an ENFP, you've got the how, don't worry about that. But you've got to commit first and have some pressure, and then you'll figure out the how. Number 6, and I have an entire video on this I'll link to here, is a lot of the career lists for ENFPs are complete and utter garbage. They are archaic, they are based on lists generated decades ago and then copied from each other like some crazy mess, and not providing you nearly enough information you need to actually find that right job. Sometimes people will see that list, see some movies, come up with their career plan, and 15 years later in a lot of student debt, realize, wait, this job is actually terrible for me. So check out that other video for some clarification on that and how you can make better decisions. And number 7, and I'm going to do something different here. One thing you might notice about this channel is I rarely blame outside factors or make excuses or say the world sucks, life is so hard. It's not my attitude. But I'm including one here, which is that the system kind of sucks for ENFPs. And I'll give you an example of that. As companies get bigger, it's worthwhile to have people specialize. In fact, people who are more floater positions, who do a lot of different things and jump around and learn things really quickly, are very valuable as entrepreneurs, like myself, or working for small businesses, working with entrepreneurs and being able to jump around. But as companies grow, roles need to become more specialized. And this isn't some evil conspiracy, this is just how it works. I'm even finding that in my own business. As we get more and more people on my team, I'm finding the need to specialize roles and really specify, hey, here's what you do, here's what you don't do. Whereas earlier on, when we were just 3 people, it was a lot more jumping around and doing a lot of different things, and that's what we needed at the time. So as companies get larger and larger, the roles become more and more specific. And as the internet makes everyone shop in the same places, there are less and less small businesses and more large companies. And so we have this sort of Amazon effect where basically you get a very defined role, which can basically be done by a robot as soon as that robot is invented. And very specialized careers tend not to be as interesting to ENFPs unless the actual day-to-day is very interesting. So perhaps as a coach or psychologist, even though that's very specialized, you basically are doing one thing, that can be really interesting to ENFPs because each person is a different challenge. Each conversation is very different. But within the system, within larger corporations, having a very specialized role can actually be really limiting for us, and it makes it more challenging. As well, I think our educational system, at least in Canada, at least where I grew up, there was a lot just talking about what jobs pay well and what jobs are in demand, and that's sort of what you should do, without really focusing on who you are. Because if you're really good at something that's not in demand very much, you're probably still going to make more money and have a more fulfilling life than going after something that is in demand but you hate doing it and 5 years in are gonna have a breakdown and quit, right? But we tend not to get that advice anywhere when we're growing up. So there are some things in the system that make it a little more difficult for us, being a bit of a unique personality, let's say, to figure out exactly what we want to do and what's best for us, which is one of the many reasons that I made this channel and do what I do. And my mission here, if you are new, is to help you become the best version of yourself, all while creating the most awesome life possible for you and those you love. And I do publish new videos every week, mostly for ENFPs. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And if you do want to go deeper into the ENFP personality and get some of my training that I do not share here on YouTube, head over to dreamsaroundtheworld.com/ENFP career advice. See you in the next video.